Let me try that. I've changed microphones over. Deb, let me know if you can hear me on the other end. So strange. My apologies. Strange. My apologies. Okay. So a girl spends the big bucks on the big mic, and now the big mic don't work. So sorry about that, guys. My sound may not be as awesome as usual. I'm using a smaller desktop mic here. But if you can hear me okay, I'm going to go with it. Now that I bumped my camera. Okay. Thank you, Deb. Hello, Maria. Thank you for joining me. I see a few of you coming back in here now as well. So now watch. Now my camera's going to give me grief. Okay, there's clear. Clear. It'll smarten up. So today is about MS awareness. And some of you are dealing with MS. My little preamble there was, oh, isn't this silly? Technology's great when it works. See, magic. So MS, what is it? Multiple sclerosis. You don't necessarily hear it as commonly as you used to in the full term. We tend to shorten everything up to MS. And MS is a progressive disease in some cases, as far as how the symptoms present and how they affect. Tends to affect you in your 20s to 40s. It is a neurological disease, and it's very, I always try to find simple. You should see the amount of notes. This is my attempt to ramble less. But it's a neurological disease where your immune system essentially attacks your central nervous system, and in particular the brain and spinal cord. And it disrupts the signals, how they flow, how your body communicates, all kinds of things, motor skills, pain, speech, sensory things. So MS and today is primarily going to be about vibration plates, although pretty much everything Lifepro sells can benefit everyone, including those of you that might be dealing with MS or supporting someone who is dealing with MS. So I'm going to get to a little bit of information while we shake. Deb Bryant's here as well. It's a hat trick for Deb's tonight. We are going to go through a very short routine. I have had my big bad Rumblex Plus on loan here at a spa for a couple of weeks, and I've been using the Vibrance X. So I had to get my brain back on what I'm doing tonight. For those of you that are dealing with MS, it doesn't necessarily matter which plate you use. What, in my opinion and experience as a guide supporting people with MS and the general public, it's more about the type of movement. So oscillating, like all of my sessions, are kind of key, especially when you're dealing with certain aspects of MS. Now, I will say there's not a ton of research on MS specific to oscillating plates. I think the market hopefully is finally getting to a point where, you know, every vibration plate can't be stacked up beside each other and compared in the same way. And understanding how each of them move, the specs behind that, goes a long way in translating how it's going to equate to what you're trying to accomplish with it. So MS and movement in general, so specific to a vibration plate, it's simply a kinder way to get moving and exercise if that's where you're at with your, you know, how your doctor is guiding you, you know, what you do for MS as far as therapies, what activities you should be doing are best directed by your doctor, your care provider. Perhaps you're working with a physio or a trainer, but very commonly with MS, you're dealing with traditional activity is maybe a little too high impact, or you need to reduce durations, or you're dealing with joint inflammation. Movement in general helps maintain the neural pathways. If you don't use it, you lose it. It's just like that saying. So the less you move, the more the symptoms are going to progress. And if you've watched any of my sessions before, a vibration plate is simply a tool that can make movement easier, even for those that cannot necessarily move themselves. It can be a therapy and it can be an exercise. It depends on you and what you're personally doing on it and able to tolerate. So we're going to get started in a seated exercise, and I'm going to talk through more benefits while we do this seated. I recommend if you are a new user or you have, regular flare-ups, or you're dealing with symptoms, perhaps you haven't been using your plate regularly. If you do have one, you want to keep your sessions brief and more frequent. Think of it more symptom management, battling that inflammation, the pain, the spasticity before we get into the fitness piece. So movement in general is going to support neuroplasticity, the brain, how it communicates with our muscles, our movements, the signals it sends that are affected by this condition. It's going to very easily improve circulation and lymphatic movement. So regardless of what you might be dealing with, whether it's MS, this is an immune system thing. So you want to make sure that if you are having issues with your neurological system, your immune system, that you're not subjecting yourself to more activity than you're ready for. So even though I'm going to talk a lot longer than what I recommend you using it, keep it 30 to 60 seconds per exercise. We're going to go through about 5 or 6 variations. You'll notice, if you've never joined me, my feet are close. If you are using any style of vibration plate, whether it's oscillating, perhaps you're using pulsation or vibration mode, as some refer to it, or lateral, it's not about starting slow. Everyone thinks slow is better. This is not a treadmill. There's 2 factors: the amount of intensity. So my feet are closer to reduce the amount of intensity. If I put a foot wider, you'll feel there's quite a bit more movement. The amount of movement is often where we get into trouble. Too much movement, intensity, and too long a duration. So regardless of the chronic issue, MS specifically today, a lot of the symptoms that you deal with MS are common to other chronic conditions. So movement is going to boost circulation. It's going to carry that oxygen more readily to the tissues. As I said, it already reduces stiffness. My feet are about hip width apart. If you're finding at the 30-second to a minute mark this is too much or too intense, I hope you realize you can bring your feet closer. If it feels comfortable and you've been using your plate for a while and you're going to advise to my shorter durations, you could take it a little bit wider, but please don't think wider is better. A lot of people think wider is better. I've had medical professionals say, well, Debbie, everybody knows standing wider brings more benefits. Does it really? Show me that study. Wider is more impact. It says jogging on most machines as the place markers. So bring those feet more realistically hip width apart. And I should have started with just do a little bit of grounding here. Let's get our posture in check. We're not like hunching, leaning over, blocking these pathways, hunching up on the ribs. We want a nice straight spine. Your pelvis is in what I refer to as a neutral position. It's tilted slightly backwards. The chest is more pushed out than the belly. And keep those shoulders back. Keep yourself relaxed and just focus on some nice, purposeful breathing. This is going to boost your energy, it's going to boost your mood, and it's going to boost your mental clarity, which is another reason to keep the exposure brief. Maybe 3 to 5 minutes total per session, and use it more often. So a couple, 3 times a day. Let the symptoms drive when you need a fix. So let's talk a little bit more about symptoms. Oscillating in particular, I just want to touch on briefly, is a better short-term accelerant for boosting balance and stability. And it's very common to have stabilization or balance issues when you're dealing with MS. Not necessarily that you have bad balance. The root of that is what's going on with the neurological system, the signals, perhaps weakness, spasticity. There's a combination of things. So it's going to encourage lymph movement overall, as we know. And if you are dealing with advanced symptoms or progressive symptoms, you don't want to boost too much lymph or circulation. So just some precautions as well. Fatigue is real, guys. If you push yourself, you are going to pay for it. So, just pay attention to once we get into standing exercises or into some of the upper body, which we're going to add on next, very simply by leaning over and putting our elbows now on our knees, just to get a little bit more total body movement, a little bit more chill for my ladies. which are much more likely to be affected by MS. Like 3 times as many women are affected with MS. And you're still women. You get the neck tension, the bra, the purse. So get some movement going in the total body before you stand and get to more challenging things. So, excuse me, I almost didn't drink my coffee. But you focus more on like the quality versus quantity piece. So the exercises that you're doing, make sure that they're purposeful. Things like this where you're just doing some relaxation, perhaps some light breathing. You could do 5-10 times a day when you first get started out till things start to improve. But keep it brief, maybe 1-2 minutes as symptoms are presenting before you head out the door, before you do a task you know you're going to pay for. It's not about doing more. Consistency is the goal. That's the big key. It's a vibration plate and consistent movement is going to better support your nervous system. It's just really important to not overwhelm it and do too much. It's really, really easy to go 10 minutes if you are dealing with pain. It feels so great, but too much of a good thing, symptoms may ramp up. You may notice, symptoms increase short term, and right away you're thinking, oh, the vibration plate's bad for my symptoms. No, it's easy to overdo it. So I'd prefer you be more like, well, I could have done a little bit more. I felt a little bit. Keep it 3 to 5 minutes the first couple of times, using it 3 times a day, and continue from there. And from a symptom management perspective, I'd prefer seeing you use it more often than building up on durations. So why vibration plates in general? We're going to progress to some standing here. And the biggest difference using a vibration plate from seated to standing is partly more total body benefit. I hear that comment in comments generally, certainly on Facebook and some of the YouTube comments. But the bigger reason you want to progress to standing, so what I just did, let's consider a warm-up. The blood's going, the circulation's great. We're standing now, and standing is more functional. You want to make sure, especially if you've got sensitivities in the head or it's just first time using it, we're not standing locked-legged. Locked-legged, your body is like an A-frame, and the sway is going completely up the body. That's where the resonance of the movement travels. Bend the knees. Let the shock absorbers, those hips, the knees, the ankles, do what they're supposed to do. This very much mimics an ultra-low impact version of walking. Vibration plates are going to create muscle activation without heavy effort. That's the big advantage they have, especially if you're coming from a place of poor health or accelerated symptoms, flighting symptoms. They change from day to day. As I already mentioned, it's fast circulation and lymphatic movement. Very quickly improves proprioception because it's waking up your central nervous system. It's prepping the pathways for whatever you're going to do next. And if that's just putting one foot in front of another to walk to the refrigerator to get some lunch, you're always going to feel more stable, more relaxed, and more energized if you're using it for 30 seconds to a minute at a time. Think dosage. The other big advantage of a vibration plate, and I've already rambled 10 minutes, is less load, low load jointing. So if low loading on the joints. Sometimes traditional activities, it's not that you can't do them or you don't enjoy them, but it's the time that it takes to do them. Or maybe you're conditioned and you're having to add more time or weight to the equation. So it's very low loading on the joints. And there's 2 ways that you can even fine tune that a little bit. So just standing, you want to make sure the knees are bent enough that you're not really feeling it too much past the collarbone. If you're unable to stand like this for long periods, maybe you need to sit back down, do a combination of seated and standing until the knees get a little bit better, or the hips, whatever may be holding you back, and they will. But for those of you that can bend and just be relaxed, again, that pelvis is in a neutral position, tilted slightly backwards, nice straight spine. We're feeling it no more above the kind of the neck and the base of the shoulders. If you can bend just slightly into a little bit of a light squat, like you're getting ready to sit in that chair, but we're not quite there, you can feel those muscles activating, but you're not having to go through that range of movement on the joints. So this is another way that you can reduce that load, that impact on the joints. If you are comfortable, you're doing dynamic exercises and you have no problem, I still recommend starting static to get a feel, get that proprioception going. Understand what's comfortable. You want most of the weight on the heels. And if you do want to move, make it very slow, very purposeful. Maybe time it with your breathing. You don't need to go too deep unless you're already working at this type of level. Don't start on the vibration plate. Work out the basics, progress to more challenging positions down the road. Some tips, again, I want to stress, be conservative, use it more often, in less time, low intensity, keep those feet close. If you find, you're okay after you've used your session a couple times, the knees are fine, the hips are fine, you can experiment with wider foot positioning, but as a progression, I would by far prefer you stay more functional. Keep those feet hip width apart or just slightly out, and add the squat. Or if you're able to do this, go deeper with the squat. Maybe, let's add some arm movements with this. Make the positions more challenging and get to that point of fatigue. Keep it within that 30 to 60 seconds versus extending and going longer and longer. Good technique is by far better than lots of movement and fancy things. Use support if you need. If you find when you're standing, you need something to hang on to. I have a little ladder that I made out of dowel for certain applications. Maybe you're using a bar height stool like I've got here, or a chair with a back. If you find you're not comfortable doing the standing stuff yet because of the balance and stability, or you're just fearful, start seated, get a feel for it. And then you can progress and maybe put a chair in front of you. And you certainly can mix up the seated and the standing as well. Pay attention to signs. So I've rambled over 10 minutes. If you're sticking with me the whole time and it's your first time and you have MS, is your face looking a little bit flushed? You feel a little dizzy, a little nauseous, any tingling spikes, any strange sensation isn't necessarily a bad thing. We've gotten to a point with our body where if we feel pain or something different, we freak out and immediately associate it with something being wrong. Oh, I did too much, or the plate did it, and we go through this whole struggle. Sometimes, and I'm going to caution you in a good way, if you're dealing with progressed symptoms, the neuropathies there, you've got painful symptoms, swelling, you're fearful to go for a walk because, things just, you're walking into walls and the balance isn't there. Improve the quality of life first. Forget the fitness. Don't be thinking of squats, what you got to be doing for 10 minutes. Start experimenting with the plate. Keep it short, more purposeful, using it more often. And I think you'll find very quickly, not only is it a great symptom management tool, but it's probably going to be an exercise that you can actually tolerate. If you're finding you're flushed, you've overdone it in some way, dosage is a big term on my clinics and a lot of the docs I like to work with. If you had an overreaction to some medication you'd be taking, you wouldn't necessarily just chuck it in the garbage and stop taking it. You'd go talk to your doctor. Maybe it's a dosage issue. Maybe you need to back off or need to increase. There's all this mentality where we know how to adjust for our medication and our therapies, but we don't always equate it to a vibration plate. It just happens a little quicker, some of the benefits of exercise. Another really good exercise, I would like to show you one more for standing if the squat was a little too much. Hang on. I have my remote here somewhere. I found it today. Anyways, weight shifts. I've got a client I was working with earlier today. She's comfortable squatting. She's comfortable seated, but lunges, doing step ups, she's not quite there. And we wanted to get a little bit more functional. And I've done this in a couple of past sessions. One of the wonderful benefits of oscillating movement is how it mimics our body's natural gait pattern. It mimics how we walk, and our body is very receptive to this style of movement. And what I did with her today is, before we got to the squat, we just did some weight shifts where we were slowly, keeping the weight primarily on the heel, kind of like we're going for a walk, and we added some slow arm movements. We did this for about 30 to 45 seconds. And what I would recommend for those of you, if you've done the 3 to 5 minutes and you find that, you're in a little better shape, or you've been using your plate for a while, perhaps you're doing other activities in complement. If you need more, try doing an additional rep of any one of the exercises versus just adding time or speed or more intensity all the time. Just to recap the exercises and present these to you as a set, we started with a seated warm-up tonight where we just got comfortable, got our feet grounded, make sure we're breathing, the posture's there. We progressed into more of a variation than a different position. So we're still getting a lower body boost of that circulation, that lymphatic movement, but we've increased upper body directly by, it feels really good in the shoulders and the neck. It feels like a very light upper body massage. At any time, based on your needs, your conditioning, your symptoms, if it's too intense, don't touch the controls, bring the feet a little closer. And I want you working with a little bit of a faster speed. I said it earlier in the session, but I had a volume delay. So in case you didn't hear me, I never go slow. This is not a treadmill. There's two factors, your speed, level, program, whatever it is that you're using, and your intensity. So bring the feet closer and go a little faster. You'll find the faster speed is a little smoother, more tonic, and it better complements the short 30 to 60 second per exercise I want you guys adhering to. So you're going to get more little micro movements in less time. It also feels a lot smoother. So after we did the elbows, we progressed to standing. We got ourselves grounded again. Pelvis is nice and neutral. We're going to tilt that tailbone back. Don't want to feel it too much up here. Bend enough. You hear it in my voice till it's kind of suppressed. If you can't bend, try, even if you're holding for 5-6 seconds, and then just sit down and continue. Build up. A second or two here a day adds up to you doing this for a minute real quick. But I don't want you pushing yourself beyond your range of motion in case you can't get back up. It's another reason to have a stool behind you if you're just beginning with standing exercises and you do fatigue or you freak yourself out. You can always just sit back in the stool. It's a safety thing too. So for those of you that are ready, I encouraged going into a little bit of a squat. Hold that. No need to move up and down. 30-second mark is plenty. If you're dying, quit before then. If you're a conditioned athlete doing these things regularly, you may want to add some dynamic movement, maybe push it to the 60-second mark. But I want you to do what's appropriate for your level of conditioning and range of motion. So keep that in mind throughout these exercises. The last little variation, and this could be, you serve almost as a cool down as well. Those knees are slightly bent, and instead of it being physically lifting the feet, we kind of mimic the walking across the floor with a very slight weight shift where we swung our arms. So I pretended like we're walking this way. I love how when I'm doing this exercise, I can feel just by playing with your angles, the sensation, the intensity, the resonance of that movement, targeting different areas. Maybe you're tight on the right and you want to just get that hip a little bit. Maybe it's the left. I know it's opposite for you on camera. So the sooner you can stand or sit and feel comfortable to experiment with these subtle little variations, the more you're going to realize it's such a viable feel-good tool. But for many of my folks dealing with MS and the chronic condition, kind of symptoms that you guys deal with, it's a great exercise tool. If you're dealing with symptoms at night, like the restless leg, the neuropathy's kicking in, cold feet, you're just tight and you can't get those legs straight. I see that a lot with my CP crowd. Maybe two minutes, a minute before you go to bed. Be really, really careful for the symptom management piece to not overdo it. As I said, it energizes you. And what that exact number is, as far as, what's going to keep me relaxed but keep my energy going versus get my legs going crazy and my mind going nuts when I go to sleep is different for everyone. So do experiment. If you're planning on using this as a sleep aid in any way, give it a try about an hour, maybe a half hour before bed, 2 to 3 minutes. Try it seated. If you're no problem standing, certainly that's fine as well. But don't do a whole big squat series or a workout. If you do too much, thinking you're going to poop yourself out, sometimes you boost the energy and you get the mind going and you can't sleep for a completely different reason. So bear those things in mind. I am going to turn the lights down just slightly because they're blinding my brain, and I want to get to some questions now. Key takeaway from today specific to vibration plates is safe positions, realistic time frames. I want to make sure if I had to sum it up in one sentence, the best way a vibration plate is so helpful for MS is it stimulates the muscles in a very passive, very gentle way. So if you are dealing, especially with progressive symptoms, where you have the good days and the bad days, and that's not unique to MS. A lot of conditions have symptoms that are completely, manageable, and you did the things and everything's great today, and then tomorrow you're paying for it simply because you did 2 minutes extra of something else or you wore some heels to an event. So for the bad days, you can still use your plate, but you may just change or modify how you are using it. Reduce the time, reduce the intensity. Maybe you're going to be seated for a while. It can be the symptom management tool, and once you get comfortable using it, especially if you don't have a solid exercise background now, progress to that once you feel comfortable experimenting with some of the things that I showed you today. I'm going to answer questions now. I know I had a hat trick on the Debs. Who else is here with me today? All right, so backing it up again. Sorry again for the sound delays at the beginning. Hello, Garlena. What a great name. That sounds like my favorite soap opera, Marlena. Garlena, what a great name. Debbie says, is the waiver oscillating? Absolutely, it is oscillating. All of Lifepro's models, regardless of which, offer oscillating, with the exception of the voice controlled ones. They're more like an electric rebounder than a real, what I would refer to as vibration plate by current scientific standards. But all of Lifepro's models offer oscillating movement, as it is kind of the functional or the primary movement. The waiver, the mini, and most of the compacts are specifically oscillating movement. When you get into the turbos, the hoverts, and the rumblexes, there's more than one movement, two, sometimes three, and of course you can combine them. But oscillating, when you auto start the machine, the default movement is always oscillating. Teeter totter, pivotal, side alternating. There's a number of terms for it, but you've got all you need with the waiver. Maria says, before or after a workout, with shoes or without? Before or after depends on what you're using it for. If you're dealing with MS and you're working out regularly, I do caution you not to do too much. So you can use it before and after as a warm up and a recovery. It's really knowing the whole scope of what else you're doing, because you can also overdo it by doing too many cumulative things. So if you're new to a vibration plate, keep it brief. Maybe do a little bit more on the off days, or use it as recovery after the gym, and sort of gauge when the best fit is for you. If time allows, though, ideally a couple minutes before the other things is a great way to just kind of get, like I say, the central nervous system primed and ready, get you more stable, get the blood and the circulation going. It really depends on you. Just don't do a workout, then the workout, then the workout. People have a tendency to do that sometimes. Deborah says, thank you. I'm a mentor with the MS link. I heard you're going to be a guest speaker. Oh, that's awesome. I am going to be a guest speaker. MS, not unlike other conditions, is let me see if I got my math right, and I can impress Debbie here. 1 in like 300 up to as many as 1 in 1,000 have MS. And there is no playbook of, if you have MS, you need to exercise this way and eat this way. You're all still individual people, and you all have unique needs and symptoms. And you know what? Sometimes over time they change. So just when you get it all figured out and think everything's great, things change. So, therapies, workout tools, massage guns, light therapies, there's all kinds of ways that Lifepro's tools can provide benefit for the symptom management piece and the fitness. What a lot of us don't realize with a vibration plate is that you don't have to do separate things. So while you're managing the symptoms, the fitness stuff is starting to build and happen to a degree. If you're doing the fitness stuff, you're already getting the symptom management. You're already doing the recovery. So it's also just such a viable tool to reduce the self-care time. When you're dealing with something like MS, and Debbie can back me up on this, it's a drag having to do this stuff all the time just to have a good day. But a lot of times you'll pay for it if you don't. So if there's ways that I can quicken the stuff you have to do and allow you to spend more time living your life and enjoying the things that you'd like to be doing. That's really what lights me up and motivates me and gets my feet hitting the floor every day. So whatever the symptoms are that you're dealing with, sometimes you need to modify the type of settings that you're using, the exercises, and just take a look in the mirror. If there's exercises you're supposed to be doing now, like your therapist or your doctor has said, I want you to do this 2 to 3 times a week and that 3 to 4 times a week, but it's a drag because it's not really something you want to do or have ever done before. A lot of the things position wise, maybe some stretches that you're supposed to be doing, can be done on the vibration plate in reduced time with a little bit less effort on your part. So it becomes a really great tool to do the stuff that you're supposed to be doing so you can do more time enjoying the things you're supposed to be enjoying. I hope that makes sense. If there are any other questions, or Debbie says, can't wait. I asked for you guys to join us and got my wish. Deb, I am a trainer with Lifepro, but I actually have specialized in vibration plates for almost 20 years. So I support a lot of medical conditions, a lot of medical institutions, research, and I have a number of my own pages and private groups because there are so many out there dealing with medical conditions. I am not a medical person. I have not trained medically, but after 20 years of supporting some really kind-hearted, brilliant medical specialists, you learn a thing or two, and these awesome people have taken me under their wing. And I support users as young as 6 months old, a number of children's hospitals. And if you're dealing with something just outside the box, which is pretty much everything, unfortunately, Lifepro and any manufacturer for that matter, they can't be out there offering medical advice and putting protocols into how to help you with MS and things. It's getting very hard to get support online without paying substantially for it. So I put a lot of stuff out there for free. And after 20 years, my goal really is to just help support those of you that are using plates, but lack guidance in what's appropriate for me. What's going to work for my situation. And where I specialize is in chronic conditions. So a lot of what you've read online or in the manual very much contradicts what comes out of my mouth, because you need, as I said, modify and recognize the body that you're dealing with. But there's a bazillion ways you can adapt this tool: red light, massage guns, the infrared saunas. There's lots of different things that you guys can use. I forgot to talk about heat sensitivities. Got to bring it up because now Deb's here. I gotta bring my A game. Heat sensitivities is a little bit of a sensitive issue with me. I get told lots, well, you can't use this because they can't tolerate heat, or you shouldn't do that because you can't tolerate heat. Yes, there's many that for whatever reason, their own biology or perhaps medications or just the symptoms they're dealing with, heat isn't always your friend. But so many people prove me wrong all the time, especially in the lipedema community. So for those of you that struggle with all this joint inflammation and you can't handle the traditional things and you want to lose weight or you just want to hurt less, heat can be tolerated, but like anything else, it's dosage. So a lot of my folks starting out with saunas, heat, whether it's MS or other chronic conditions, stop thinking traditionally. You're not dealing with a traditional set of things here. So get into it halfway. I do that with a lot of my kids just for the respiratory or the aches and the pains and the post-surgery recovery. Get in the thing half temp, reduce the time and use it more often and build up. The body is amazing at adapting and changing to the conditions you impose upon it. And the more you challenge your body and apply new things and try new things, the more it's going to have to adapt and get used to the environment of whatever it is that you're exposing it to. So doing more exercise is going to strengthen the bones. If you just do the bare minimum, the muscles and the bones are going to return with the bare minimum. Doesn't matter whether you have MS or fibromyalgia or whatever you may be dealing with. The biology and how you build it, make it stronger and less pain, is very similar. So I hope some of my lessons today have helped you. If you do have questions and you're watching this on a recorded basis, please type @Debby with a Y and tag me. I've been in a lot of posts, conversations in the last couple of days, and sometimes if it's just a notification, I don't necessarily get told by the Facebook gods. So just make sure that you tag at Debby with a Y if you have a question after the fact, and share. It is MS Awareness Month. If you've got someone that's dealing with this condition, you're supporting someone with this condition, you work with people with this condition, chronic conditions of any kind. I cannot believe vibration plates aren't everywhere. They should be in lineups at the bank. They should be everywhere. That walking and jumping and running around is too challenging. You can start seated. Some of the medical machines, you can even lay down. There's all kinds of ways that we can get modifying and get creative. So I'm happy to support you if you do have questions and refer you to other resources within the Lifepro family here. So thank you for joining me. I went off on a tangent. Nice to see you, Maria. I'm in MS Link 2. Can't wait to hear you. Good turnout, guys. Thank you so much. I didn't even think about that when I planned this session a few weeks ago. Maybe it was just meant to be. I had this booked on the back end before you guys even reached out. So I'm very, very flattered to be speaking on behalf of Lifepro to anyone out there in. Feel free, if you guys have your event links and so forth, to plug those. We will be doing some talks on behalf of Lifepro vibration plates, and I'm happy to touch on some other tools. I've been working with all kinds of things for 20 years. Vibration plates are a good complement to other things. And if you are incorporating other therapies, other activities, keep in mind the cumulative effect. Be conservative in your starting points, and check back in with me if you do have any questions. Thanks for having some time with me on Friday night and giving me your Friday evening. I'm going to drop some more links after the live wraps, some additional sessions of mine, and I will look forward to seeing you guys next week. On the 25th, Wednesday, is National Cerebral Palsy Awareness Week. Or no, what am I saying? National Cerebral Palsy Day. So I'll be doing a special session here for Lifepro as well. I will be doing some talks in my private group, Cerebral Palsy, Vibration for Cerebral Palsy, where a lot of my users are pediatric with cerebral palsy, but also a variety of other special conditions. As I said, to me, it's always about the symptoms, not so much the label, because a lot of times, there's situations too where there's misdiagnosis out there. There's conditions like lipedema, which are still barely heard of in the States, that you can't even get a diagnosis on in Canada, where I'm based. So a lot of it is, we're our own advocates out there, guys. And some of the best information is in that Lifepro VIP group, in these lives. We're not out there pretending to be doctors or therapists, but as highly trained, experienced professionals using certain types of equipment, we certainly do have some insight. And, I want you to reach out with those questions, whether it's for your own information or sharing with colleagues. I'm happy to answer the tough questions if they come up too. Have a great rest of your night, guys. And I'll get that session posted and shared as well, and look forward to seeing you again, hopefully next week. Have a great rest of the night, and I look forward to speaking with those of you at MS here next month. I'm pretty excited about that. Thanks, Marie, and thank you so much, Debby, for joining. It's totally Debby night. Thanks for joining, guys.